Hey, howdy hey, and welcome back to Emily's Adventures in Horrorland. Just before we start the video, don't worry about this, I'm very florid. I go red very easily, that's all it is. I've got a rash, I promise. I'm doing something a bit different for this review. The other day I went to the cinema to see 10 Cloverfield Lane with a friend of mine, and despite the fact that the fast track ticket machine wouldn't take my 50% off voucher code, why don't they have a normal... They don't have a normal box office there with regular people, Anyway, despite that, I had a really good experience. I've never actually seen a horror movie in the cinema before, which is shocking, I know, but I only got into this recently, I remember, and normally I'd go with my family and not for myself, and we'd compromise and watch something like, I don't know, the Gulliver's Travels remake, so that explains why. But I've actually found that seeing things on the big screen, the surround sound thing, really makes for better jump scares, which is brilliant. I never knew about that, and it's kind of a bonus because jump scares wash over me now. I've no idea why. I think maybe because I've watched so many horror movies, I'm getting more of a sense of when they're going to pop up. I'm guessing that's it anyway. Now then, I went into this completely blind. I didn't read any reviews beforehand, and I didn't even watch the trailers. I've watched them since. But now that I've seen what I like to call Not Cloverfield 2, it's hard to know what constitutes spoiler material because of the nature of the film. And I call it Not Cloverfield 2 because I suppose I went there thinking it might be a sequel when, in actual fact, it's more of a spiritual successor. And I think that works to the film's advantage. You go in not knowing what to expect. I mean, is it going to have baby sea monsters again? Is it going to be found footage again? And the answer is no. None of that. So the basic premise is this. A woman called Michelle has an off-screen argument with her fiancé, and she packs a bag, she grabs a bottle of booze, she puts her ring on the side so you know it's serious. And she leaves the house, drives away. And while she's driving, she hears radio broadcasts about blackouts all over the city, and she gets calls from Ben, which she tries to ignore, and then all of a sudden, scrunch, her car flips over, she's in a horrible accident that she blacks out. And when she wakes up, she is in an underground bunker with a lock on the door, her injured leg tied to the wall, which is not ideal. Obviously she wants answers, and the owner of the bunker tells her that upstairs there's been a terrible chemical attack. I think the story was well-paced and pretty darn gripping. Again, nothing like I was expecting. It's far less of a monster movie and more of a psychological horror/thriller, which I think I prefer. And I think the way it's shot will be much more palatable to mainstream audiences than the found footage predecessor, if that makes any sense. Okay, spoiler time, my favourite. Click ahead to this point if you'd like to avoid those, and yeah, here we go. Perhaps it's no surprise to you that John Goodman is in this film. It was to me because I didn't watch the trailer, but in the film itself they have a face reveal thing near the start, and I think that was kind of indicative of the kind of character he was going to play. I'm not used to seeing him in a dark, serious, and actually quite frightening role in this, because I'm used to him in, more comedy roles, like in King Ralph. He was a bad guy in Evan Almighty, but that was such a bad film. Really bad. I don't count that at all. So anyway, in this, he's the owner of a bunker, fully furnished, books, DVDs, sofas, vat of acid, just in case all hell breaks loose upstairs. And he's found himself accommodating Emmett, who built the bunker for him and struggled to get in when all hell broke loose. And then Michelle, who, he actually caused her car accident, which is interesting. And he doesn't reveal this to her straight away. Obviously, she doesn't believe what he's telling her, that, chaos outside, so she tries to knock him over the head and escape, but then she sees someone struggling to get into the bunker, horrible facial lesions, it all starts to sink in. This film has convinced me that I wouldn't want to be stuck in a bunker with the kind of person that would make one. I think the biggest spoiler I can give about this film is that John Goodman is the scariest thing in it. And I mean that in a good way. He's in a perpetual bad mood, he's highly suspicious, and really sucky to play board games with, which is a problem if you're going to be stuck underground for several years. He expects Michelle and Emmett to behave and do as they're told, and to be eternally grateful to him for saving their lives, even though we find out he has no qualms with taking other people's lives. He claims to be a team player, that they're all going to have to stick together to survive this, and he's completely the opposite. Also, he seems to think of Michelle as naive and childlike in a scene that's both awkward and hilarious, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. Needless to say, after Michelle discovers his true nature, she wants out, and she makes her own biohazard suit out of a shower curtain and her own gas mask, which is something that made my friend snort in derision in the cinema, and she gets the hell out of there. And you know what? I don't blame her at all. It's like, Toxic atmospheres and unknown terrors and certain death on the horizon, or stay with a psychopath and have his babies in a tin box underground. Yeah, I think I'll take my fucking chances. As far as my research has told me, people have criticised the ending, which reveals that aliens have come down and they've attacked everything and everyone. Personally, I thought it was okay. I think Michelle defeats them a little too easily with her Chekhov's gun/bottle of booze that she has in her car. But after that, there's a cliffhanger ending, I feel, where she hears something on the radio about a human resistance group in Houston and she decides to join them. See, Howard, that's the real meaning of teamwork. And spoiler time is over. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this review, that it left you more informed, and do let me know if you plan to see it, or if you have seen it already, whether or not you liked it as much as I did. I have a real soft spot for films that are set in maybe one small place in particular with very few cast members. I think they generally allow for more character development, and they really allow the atmosphere to build and grow, which is good for a horror movie. I'm not sure if this is horror. It could be a psychological thriller, horror, sci-fi. It wouldn't be the first time I've crossed genres on this channel, but yeah, I think it really works for this film. So yeah, I'm going to give this one 7.5 jam sandwiches out of 10. Which is more than I gave A Nightmare on Elm Street, I know. Please don't hit me. I hope you liked this review. Please let me know what you think, and maybe what you'd like to see from me in future, because I'm very open to discussion, and I want you to come adventuring in Horrorland with me. That's why I made this channel. I'd love to discuss what I should do next. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio. I think I just saw John Goodman twerking. This is a weird world we live in.